The second generation version of Vauxhall's Insignia has been usefully updated, now offered only in 5-door hatch form and featuring a heavily revised engine range, plus smarter looks, a classier cabin and some high-tech features. Value's the keynote here. This car undercuts its class competitors on price by a considerable amount, yet it still broadly matches many of them in areas like ride, refinement and standard equipment, which, if you're browsing in the medium-range D segment, makes this a contender you still can't afford to overlook.
Cars like this one don't spend their lives on open country roads, but on endless motorway trips and in snarled up suburban crawls. Dynamically, they should be designed to suit that remit in the way that this one really is. To some extent, it feels like the bigger car it's become in its second generation form. The suspension floats you over broken surfaces that would have troubled and impeded the previous pre-2017 era model. Few other models in this segment ride better, and that is some compensation for the fact that this isn't in any sense a car that you take out to drive just for the fun of it. But it is one that you'd be very happy to have chosen at the end of a long day fighting against the clock to meet appointments with awkward clients who simply don't care about the difficulties of grappling with Britain's congested highway network. You might be surprised, given the current environmental zeitgeist, to learn that nearly all Insignias are still sold with diesel power, although as much as anything that's down to Vauxhall's continued refusal to offer this model with sensibly priced petrol units. The usual Insignia driver's choice these days is the 122 PS, 1.5 litre 3-cylinder diesel that we're trying here. That's recently been borrowed from the Astra lineup, and it's available with the option of 8-speed automatic transmission, in which form it returns WLTP readings of up to 56.5 mpg on the combined cycle and up to 130 grams per kilometre of CO2. There is also a freshly added 174 PS 2-litre turbo D unit if you want a bit more performance, also with the same auto option. For the few who'll want petrol power in this car, Vauxhall offers a couple of new 2-litre turbo powertrains, both wedded to a new 9-speed automatic gearbox. One develops 200 PS, the other in the top GSI puts out 230 PS, and that flagship model features an intelligent all-wheel drive system with a sophisticated built-in rear torque vectoring setup. At its original launch back in 2017, this second-generation Z18 series Insignia aimed to make the idea of running a large Vauxhall feel a bit more aspirational. Maybe it still does. The flowing shape, which is based on the brand's Monza concept car, was significantly larger than the previous G09 series model, but did it make enough of a driveway statement? Vauxhall's latest owners must have decided not, because this facelifted car gets a few tweaks that are aimed at making it stand out a bit more in the office car park. Most of the changes are concentrated here at the front. Now, even if you know this car, you might not have clocked the fact that these LED headlamps are new. They have these little outer tick-shaped elements, and their daytime running light strips now sit at the bottom rather than at the top of the headlamp unit, so that they visually flow into this chromed central grille strip. We mentioned the front grille. That's also subtly different. It's now slightly wider and it features more prominent slats, which is supposed to make the Vauxhall logo in the centre appear larger. Further down, the previously horizontal corner cutouts for the fog lamps are now vertical. The original pre-2017 era G09 series Insignia, that was one of the first cars in the segment to pioneer the coupe-style rear side window line that was subsequently adopted by premium models like the Audi A5 Sportback and the BMW 4 Series Grand Coupe. This replacement design continues with that theme and matches it with a crisp crease flowing back through the door handles, along with what designer Mark Adams calls the sweep spear. Now, this is a sculptural blade-like lower swage line that starts behind the front wheel arch and then further back flows dramatically up towards the rear door handle. Time to take a seat inside. There wasn't the budget to make sweeping changes here, so apart from a few extra bits of chrome trimming, there aren't very many, and that means that you're transported back in time to that not so distant era when car designers didn't mind filling up the fascias and the dashboards and the steering wheels with proper buttons. Still, there are compensations. The brilliantly supportive, ergonomic, active driver's seat might on its own really sell you this car if you were regularly commuting over long distances. The central infotainment screen here is either 7 or 8 inches in size, that depends on spec, and it offers the usual features including Apple CarPlay and Android Auto phone connectivity. On plusher variants like the one we have here, there's a further 8-inch screen in the centre of the instrument cluster here, the centre of which you can customise with a digital speedo, trip computer info, safety stuff or efficiency readouts. White stitched touches and double stitching along the central part of the dash, they attempt to add a premium feel, and there's a reasonable amount of cabin storage too. So, time to check out another area of the car that might really sell it to you, the back seat. Once inside, you really notice the benefits of this second generation design's extra 92mm of wheelbase. As you'd expect from a car that's nearly 5 metres long, so nearly as long as an enormous Audi Q7 SUV, there's plenty of room for one really tall adult to sit behind another. Just as impressive is the cabin width, as you'd expect it might be, given that this car is wider than supposedly much bigger E-segment models like BMW's 5 Series or Mercedes E-Class. Finally, let's take a look in the boot. All that emphasis on extra rear seat space has seen carriage capacity drop by 10 litres over what was provided by the previous generation 2017 era Insignia model, which means that this 490-litre boot is 95 litres smaller than a rival Volkswagen Passat. Vauxhall rather hopefully believes that potential buyers won't really notice. A Skoda Superb owner certainly would though. There you get 135 litres more cargo room. So, here we are at the end of an era. American giant General Motors bought the Vauxhall brand back in 1925 and financed the many family cars that we all remember until the sale of the marque to the French PSO group in 2017. The Insignia will be the last of the GM period designs to linger in the Vauxhall model range. Once the current Astra goes, all the remaining Griffin brand models will be rebadged Peugeot Citroën-derived designs, and pretty soon this Insignia, in its current form anyway, will be gone too. But for now, this Mark II Z18 series design needs to see out its production run, during which time, as we've discovered in this test, it could still appeal to value-orientated private or more likely business customers. For its own sake, Stellantis had to take urgent measures to improve engine efficiency in this car, and the result is a much more cost-effective efficiency showing from the various units on offer, although the age of this design really shows in the total absence of any kind of electrified assistance across the range. Otherwise, the appeal of this car is much as it was before. So ride quality is excellent by class standards, and you get one of the larger rear cabins in the segment, although not one of the larger boots. As ever with an Insignia though, it's the value proposition that will most keenly draw you to this model. A Volkswagen Passat or a Peugeot 508 is a better car than this, but is it £4,000 better? That's very questionable. Even the Skoda Superb, a rival with a design closer to this Mark II Insignia's vintage, costs around £2,000 more, and that's before you begin to equalise equipment levels or get your Vauxhall dealership to start making offers. All of which means that there will remain a market for this Insignia in its remaining production years. Add everything up and you could even see it as a rather clever choice in this segment. But its time has passed as the industry has moved on into this SUV-dominated era of increasing electrification. This is how middle management executives used to drive. And perhaps, for just a little while longer, maybe still should.